In this video, we're going to explore 10 tips and tricks I wish I knew before playing Fallout New Vegas. So buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and let's dive into the guide. Number 1. Jury rigging is an essential perk. As you do your thing out in the Mojave Wasteland, your weapons and armor will undergo wear and tear. And if you don't fix them up for too long, then they will eventually break and become unusable. You can repair items by consuming an identical version, but for rare or unique items, this isn't always possible. And considering how paying vendors to repair your gear costs like all the caps you've ever made in this game, you'll definitely want to find another solution. Enter the jury rigging perk, which allows you to use any similar item in a category to repair your gear. This way you can repair unique and rare items without needing to find an identical copy. It does require 90 points in repair to unlock this perk, but the payoff is totally worth it, and I take it in every playthrough of this game. Number 2. Stash your gear in the trash at Goodsprings. Loot and gear is plentiful in New Vegas, so it won't be long before you and your companion are over-encumbered. But where's a good place to stash your loot for items you don't want to sell but can't afford to carry? Some of the chests in this game will reset, so you want to be careful where you put your loot so it doesn't disappear. I personally recommend dropping items in the dumpster next to this building in Goodsprings. For starters, it never resets, so you won't have to worry about your gear getting wiped out. And even after you gain access to the presidential suite in the Lucky 38 or other residences in the game, the advantage of keeping gear here is that you only need to do one loading screen. Number 3. Be mindful of outfits and disguises. The different factions in Fallout New Vegas also have faction-specific armor and outfits. But be careful with these because they're not just fashion, they will actually cause other NPCs to consider you a member of the relevant faction. For instance, wearing a powder ganger uniform in Goodsprings may cause the residents to become hostile even if you help them in Goodsprings' gunfight. One minute you're chillin' and vibing with Trudy at her bar, and the next minute she's trying to blow your head off. But you can also use faction armor to your advantage to infiltrate camps and walk freely amongst groups that might otherwise shoot you on sight. Faction armor may also tip the balance in how potential companions feel about you. A great example is Arcade Gannon. If you have a positive reputation with Caesar's Legion, then he will refuse to travel with you. However, if you slap on some NCR armor, Arcade will change his tune, even if your reputation with the Legion is the same. So keep this in mind as you play the game. If you're getting stuck on a particular objective, sometimes the solution is switching up your drip. Number 4. Companion quest triggers. Companion quests work a little bit differently in Fallout New Vegas. Rather than working on a reputation or affinity score, in order to unlock companion quests, you need to gain trust points by triggering specific conversations as you travel in the wasteland. These triggers will happen automatically at certain locations. For instance, Arcade Gannon will strike up a conversation with you when you visit the crashed vertibird site on the far south part of the map. If you want to do all the companion quests, I recommend looking up the specific trigger sites on the Fallout Wiki, for instance. Keep in mind that some of them are a bit buggy. For instance, Veronica is supposed to have a conversation trigger outside Vault 3, but I've literally never been able to get this one to work. Also, keep in mind that locations that have conversation triggers from multiple characters will only work once per playthrough. For instance, multiple companions will have a conversation trigger the first time you enter the Silver Rush weapons store in Freeside. Number 5. Power armor training. Unlike Fallout 4, one does not simply put on a suit of power armor. In order to use power armor in New Vegas, you'll first need to receive training from an experienced user. The first way to do this is to complete the Brotherhood of Steel questline in the Hidden Valley Bunker. Completing their series of quests will unlock power armor training for you. Another option is to do Arcade Gannon's companion quest for Auld Lang Syne. This one takes a bit longer because first you have to do the Followers quest for Julie Farkas in Freeside, then recruit Arcade Gannon, then gain trust points with him by doing the aforementioned companion conversation triggers. But at the end of this quest line, you'll receive power armor training from the remnants of the Enclave. So it's totally worth doing either this quest or the Brotherhood quest to get this training, or both of them. Number 6. How to raise your special stats. Unlike Fallout 4, you cannot increase your special traits through leveling up. These stats are largely fixed when you build your character at the beginning of the game. However, there are a few ways to increase those stats as you progress. The main one is to buy implants from the New Vegas Medical Clinic just outside the Strip. The number of implants you can install is limited by your base endurance stat. So if you start the game with only 3 endurance points, you can only install 3 implants. Each implant costs 4,000 caps and grants +1 to the relevant special stat, that's strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, and luck. The intense training perk, which you can buy upon leveling up, will also allow you to invest 1 more point in a special stat of your choice. Number 7, low intelligence dialogue options. If you build a character with 3 intelligence points or less, then you will unlock special dumb dialogue options that happen in some conversations. Obsidian also did this in the Outer Worlds, and it can be pretty entertaining. Probably not worth it for a first playthrough because having low intelligence also nerfs how many skill points you get upon level up, but it's definitely a funny way to play the game for at least one run. Number 8, be sure to gather skill books and magazines. There are 2 types of skill books in Fallout New Vegas. Traditional skill books grant a permanent bonus to the relevant stat. The base increase is a permanent +3, but you can bump that up to +4 with the Comprehension perk. If you do plan on taking the Comprehension perk while you're building your character, I recommend waiting to use those skill books until you have it to maximize your point increase. But New Vegas also has skill magazines, which provide a temporary +10 to the relevant stat. For these ones, you'll want to save them for scenarios when you are just short of reaching a stat requirement. For instance, I was not able to pass this speech check with Mortimer during Beyond the Beef, but after reading the Meeting People skill magazine, I had enough speech points to unlock that dialogue option. Number 9, save often. New Vegas is a notoriously buggy game that is prone to crashing randomly, so I recommend quick saving the game often and making separate manual save slots from time to time. This way you'll minimize lost progress when the inevitable happens. The game is also pretty stingy with autosaves out in the open world, so be particularly mindful when exploring the open areas of the Mojave and save the game often. Number 10, don't betray the Powder Gangers just yet. One of the first side quests you'll receive in New Vegas is the Goodsprings gunfight, which pits the townsfolk against the Powder Gangers. If you're new to the game, I recommend waiting to do this quest for a little while. Reason being, completing it and siding with the town will cause all the neighboring Powder Gangers to be hostile. It's just really annoying to have lunatics chucking dynamite at you while you explore the Mojave as a low-level character. Again, if you want to tackle this quest right at the start, more power to you. I'm not saying the Powder Gangers are the hardest enemies in the game or anything like that. They're not. I just find it annoying to get shot at by everyone on the map right at the beginning of a playthrough. There are plenty of things trying to kill you out in the wasteland, so you don't need to immediately make a bunch of enemies before you get better equipment. This quest doesn't have a time limit, and you can always come back and do it later when you're all geared up. So there you have it, 10 tips and tricks I wish I knew before playing Fallout New Vegas. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more Fallout and RPG videos. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.